Wheeler Yuta teases several new members possibly coming soon to the Blackpool Combat Club in AEW. Kenny Omega confirms a new mode is coming to AEW Fight Forever very soon, as well as revealing some internal reaction to the game and how it's been received by players online. An update on Bryan Danielson's broken arm that he suffered at Forbidden Door. Trench leaves AEW after his contract expires. An update on when Battle of About 7 is going to air on TNT. Jim Ross provides an update on his recovery and upcoming AEW return. A Chris Jericho segment has been announced for this week's edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS, and Kenny Omega opens up on the controversial Tiger Driver 91 spots from AEW and New Japan's Forbidden Door pay-per-view. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about the Blackpool Combat Club, yes, the BCC. And could we see new members coming to the faction in AEW very soon? Well, AEW star Wheeler Yuta has named some competitors he thinks would be great fits for the Blackpool Combat Club. Yuta, Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and Claudio Castagnoli have established themselves as a tight-knit group focused on raising the next generation of grapplers in professional wrestling. While there hasn't been an addition to the group since Claudio Castagnoli joined in June of 2022, with the faction wanting to make more stars in their image, it has been heavily speculated that the Blackpool Combat Club will introduce new members in the future. Speaking with SE Scoops, Yuta was asked about the possibility of the group potentially expanding, naming stars who'd fit in with the Blackpool Combat Club. Yuta said, quote, Layla Hirsch, Jamie Hayter could be great fits. It's great we're having Konosuke Takeshita fight alongside us. I'm not entirely sure if we would call him an official member. Being able to fight alongside him has been awesome. Same with Shota Umino. Being able to fight alongside him in New Japan Pro Wrestling in Strong. There are great people to bring into the fold. Amid the rivalry between the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite, Yuta will face off against Kenny Omega in singles action on Wednesday's edition of AEW Dynamite. Now, Yuta, in the same interview, was asked about the current backstage morale in AEW, which is certainly a ongoing topic of discussion and interest. AEW star Wheeler Yuta has commented on the backstage morale within the company following previous reports about the divisiveness within the company. While speaking with Post Wrestling, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer indicated there was a lot of divisiveness backstage after CM Punk's AEW return on the June 17 edition of AEW Collision, and after Punk's ESPN interview that was released before Collision, and that things were, quote, at a bad point once again. Several AEW names responded to the report, addressing rumours about the AEW locker room. In a new interview with SE Scoops, Wheeler Yuta stated that the general feeling backstage is excitement with AEW's big summer plans. Noting that there's a sense of optimism backstage, Yuta said, quote, I'm the kind of person who likes to keep to myself and do my own thing and focus on what I'm doing, but the general vibe for myself and everyone is just excitement. We know we have these huge events coming up. We just came from Forbidden Door, which was an incredible show. We are going to Wembley Stadium, we have All In, All Out, and so many great things. We have a Fight Forever video game. It's exciting to see all these things we really have been working toward and hoping for coming to fruition. There is an air of optimism that wants to continue and grow to be successful. So, do you agree with Wheeler Yuta? Is all of the speculation about the backstage morale being divisive in AEW just that? Is it speculation? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Now, let's talk about AEW Fight Forever. You would have seen me attempting to play it, certainly, in recent streams. More of them coming very soon. But a new game mode could be coming to the game in the very near future. Kenny Omega has commented on upcoming additions to AEW Fight Forever, confirming that a Stadium Stampede mode is coming. Speaking with Rad Prashad of Uproxx, Omega addressed the future of the game following its June 29 general release. Noting that there's a lot more to come, Omega said, quote, there is always going to be additions to this game. You haven't seen anything yet. You've seen a little bit, but you haven't seen a lot of things that I'm very excited for. There's something in particular coming up. It's sort of been leaked a little bit, so the Stadium Stampede mode I'm very excited for, and I think people are going to have a lot of fun. It's something so incredibly unique, and I think it's going to be great. The roster, we're going to add bodies to the roster as well, custom parts for a creator wrestler, all that stuff. I can't wait to share more announcements with people and see more of the roster, more match types, and see the videos turn up online for how people are enjoying it. Omega went on to tease that AEW's relationships with Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling could also spill over into the game, noting, quote, "There are a lot more possibilities of what we can include and what we can design for the game." As you can see on the screen right now, there are some images of this Stadium Stampede mode. Of course, if there is a Stadium Stampede mode release, which there will be, we'll be playing it on here on the channel live. Now, the internal reaction to the release and response to the AEW Fight Forever console video game has now been revealed too. Following the game's initial announcement in November of 2020, there was a lot of speculation about the game's production before it was finally announced that the project would be hitting the shelves on June 29. Speaking with Cultaholic, AEW Fight Forever lead narrative designer Justin Leeper noted that the team behind the game are satisfied with the reception of the game. Sharing his honest thoughts on fan feedback, he said, quote, "I think we're pretty happy. I, at least, was aware that reviews may not be in the stratosphere, but at the end of the day, I make games for the player. I make games so that people who are interested in it will pick it up, they'll find some fun and enjoyment of that. Does that mean I made a perfect game mode? No, definitely not. Is this the perfect game? No, it's not. Especially taking it as a from the ground up first effort for a brand new IP, I think we accomplished what we wanted to do. I think I accomplished what I wanted to do on the mode. I think we made an easy to play, hard to master kind of game that is intuitive in the controls and fun to play. It's something to build off of, very much so. I hope that there are some updates that come and maybe bring some other people into the fold who thought, well, maybe I'll wait and see what happens. By and large, the people who I've heard from, who are playing it, actually picked it up, downloaded it, bought it, and getting their hands on it, are enjoying what they have been playing. Now, again, it's not certainly without its criticisms as well, which I've spoken about extensively here on the channel during those streams. So if you do like that kind of gaming side of pro wrestling, I would recommend to check those out because they are a lot of fun as we attempt to play that game. What have you thought, though, of AEW Fight Forever so far? Let me know your thoughts about that, too. I spoke earlier on about the Blackpool Combat Club. One member, Bryan Danielson, isn't going to be wrestling anytime soon because at Forbidden Door, Bryan Danielson defeated Kazuchika Okada by submission despite the fact he suffered a broken arm during the match. The extent of the injury was shown in a photo of an x-ray of Danielson's arm with his wife Brie Garcia saying the injury is worse than we thought. On a recent episode of What Happened When, AEW's Tony Schiavone provided further details on the status of Danielson, saying, quote, "I do also want to say that being a part of an Okada match was one of those moments that you'll never forget, and being part of any Bryan Danielson match is special, especially when he worked the last part of the match with a broken arm. He put on that stretch plum, or whatever he call it, the bell lock, with a broken hand, and he put his first hand in, and he was doing this. Of course, now we don't know if he's working or not at this time. He does this, and he does this, and he forces his hand to lock under that much pain. It's an unforgettable moment. It really is for me. I remember that because I was right there seeing him take that second hand and hook him and stretch that label lock on. I've seen the x-rays. I know how bad the break is. It's a severe break. Now, with the injury being described as a severe break and a 6 to 8 week recovery having been previously reported, plans for Danielson and AEW Blood and Guts, they've all been changed because of that. It had also been previously reported that Danielson was to wrestle in the weeks leading up to the July 19 Blood and Guts match, but obviously he is now unable to do so. The big question is, though, will he be able to return for AEW All In later on this summer? As of right now, that's still to be confirmed. His status is very much still up in the air. Now, an AEW Departure to talk about here, because Trench, you might recognize him because he's quite recognizable. You'll never see him wrestle because he never did. He's left AEW. Everyone's favorite heavily tattooed mogul affiliate is no longer All Elite. PW Insider is reporting that All Elite Wrestling has allowed the contract of Trench to expire, signaling his departure from the company. Trench had been part of Swerve Strickland's Mogul Affiliates faction. AEW also removed Trench's profile from the company's website roster page. Both Trench and his Mogul Affiliates partner Parker Boudreaux have been sidelined for some time with injuries, although the extent and specifics of those injuries were not known. Both were pet projects of Strickland, who sought to mold them into stars, but since their injuries, Swerve has been rebooted, and his faction, the Mogul Embassy, has been put into his Mogul Affiliates has been made into the Mogul Embassy. There you go. There are very few details on where Trench came from, as the enigmatic prospect had yet to make his in-ring debut and was still in training when he was injured. And there are even fewer details on what Trench plans to do now. As for Boudreaux, he remains on the roster page on AEW's website and is still listed as a member of the Mogul Affiliates. He tweeted that he's not going anywhere, so I guess Parker Boudreaux is still All Elite for now. But what are your thoughts on Trench leaving All Elite Wrestling? Battle of the Bouts. Yes, you kind of forget that AEW does these sort of quarterly Battle of the Bouts specials, and we now know when the next one is going to be. The next edition of AEW Battle of the Bouts is set to take place on July 15, according to Mike Johnson of PW Insider. The 7th 1-hour Battle of the Bouts special will reportedly air at 10 p.m. Eastern on TNT immediately after that night's episode of AEW Collision at the Calgary Stampede Saddle Dome in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. The Battle of the Bouts episodes see 3 title clashes take place in the past. Bouts such as the Ring of Honor World Championship, the AEW Women's World Championship, and the AEW International Championship have all been defended on the show. The first ever Battle of the Bouts took place on January 8th of 2022. That night, Sammy Guevara defeated Dustin Rhodes to become the interim AEW TNT champion. Ricky Starks retained the FTW championship against Matt Sydal, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, overcame Riho to extend her reign as AEW Women's World Champion. Fast forward to the most recent edition of Battle of the Bouts, that aired on April 7, with Orange Cassidy successfully keeping hold of the AEW International Championship against Dralistico, Jade Cargill extending her reign as AEW TBS champion by defeating Billy Starks, and the Lucha Bros Penta El Zero Miedo and Rey Fenix getting the better of QT Marshall and Powerhouse Hobbs to remain the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. It is set to be live, so reportedly it's going to be the first time ever that AEW has done 3 consecutive hours of live television on the same night, so a bit of a history-making moment there. Jim Ross, a bit of an update when it comes to Jim Ross and his recovery and his AEW status right now. Jim Ross has provided an update on his condition following his injury ahead of the debut episode of AEW Collision. Before the June 17 show, Jim Ross revealed that he had suffered a bruised eye following a, quote, bad fall. While he did appear on the show to call the main event, he later apologized for how he sounded, noting that he'd be stepping away to heal. Speaking on his Grilling JR podcast, Jim Ross noted that he has been getting better every day following a period of bad luck regarding his health. Explaining how he suffered his fall, Ross said, quote, "I'm feeling pretty good, getting better every day. I just had a string of bad luck health-wise, which is very unusual for me because, knock on wood, I've been very blessed with good health. But when you get to be 71 and you're trying to live a young man's life in a young man's business and going on the road every week, it can get very challenging. So that's kind of what I found myself in that situation. But what happened was, it's a hell of a story, at least it was for me. I got up and not like a lot of other people, I had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, so I hopped out of bed to go to my bathroom, and apparently I tripped over my CPAP cord. When I did, I fell face first into the end of the table next to my bed, and the corner hit over here somewhere, so I had a huge knot immediately. I swelled shut almost immediately, but I was so sleepy and so out of it that I just got back into bed. I think I actually went to the bathroom, Mother Nature won that match, and then I got back in the bed." Ross went on to note how he also suffered a concussion with his last fall. Discussing his injury further, Ross noted that he doesn't yet have a return date for AEW, saying, quote, "I was very lucky I woke up. I was very lucky I didn't bleed out because I had a lot of blood on my pillowcases. I had to fight through it. I've been fighting through it ever since." The concussion one was one issue. I'm working on our book. I got a manuscript here that we've written, and I've been trying to read it, but I haven't been able to see good enough out of the one eye. So I'm getting back on track. I'm trying to get caught back up on that deal. But as far as going back on the road, I don't have a return date yet. Tony Khan's been very nice as far as take all the time you need, and if you want to take several weeks off or the summer off or whatever you'd like to do, just get healthy. So I appreciate the fact he's being patient with me and that he's encouraging my good health, because that's really the main thing. And it gives us all an eye-opener. There's nothing more important than our health. So many times we take it for granted, and I have for years. So I'm going to be a little more aware of my health. I'm going to be a little more aware of how I take care of myself. But in the meantime, I've been here at home. So hopefully Jim Ross gets recovered soon, and hopefully he can recover and be back on AEW television soon. We wish him the best in his recovery. Chris Jericho will be on AEW Dynamite this week. Chris Jericho's promo segment has been added to the lineup of tomorrow's AEW Dynamite, the company announced via Twitter late on Monday. Jericho will likely be addressing the fallout of last week's main event, where he tapped out to Sting's Scorpion Deathlock in a Tornado tag team match. In recent weeks, there has been a lot of chatter about a potential Jericho vs. Sting singles bout taking place at the upcoming All In pay-per-view, even as Sting, at the age of 64, continues to dismiss the possibility possibility of his imminent retirement. In fact, Sting made it clear at the AEW New Japan Forbidden Door media scrum that he's going to continue on wrestling after All In, even while acknowledging that the Wembley Stadium atmosphere would be a perfect setting to call it a day. As such, it remains to be seen if Jericho will ask Sting to put his career on the line in a potential match. This would mark the first ever singles bout between the two legendary wrestlers. The Jericho promo is just one of many segments announced for Wednesday's show. The other matches include Wheeler Yuta versus Kenny Omega, Ruby Soho versus Dr. Britt Baker DMD in a Women's Owen Hart Cup tournament match, and MJF and Adam Cole versus an unnamed tag team in a blind eliminator tag team tournament match. Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee versus Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy in a blind eliminator tag team tournament match, and a promo segment with Jon Moxley as well. This week's episode of AEW Dynamite will emanate from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, as AEW continues its summer tour of the Canadian country, with several more shows set to take place through the country through July 15. Finally, Kenny Omega has spoken about the Tiger Driver 91 that so many other people have spoken about as well. AEW fans are still talking about the match of the year candidate that we saw at Forbidden Door between Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. The match, which received 6 stars from Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, has been discussed mainly for one spot in particular. The spot in question saw Will Ospreay hit Omega with a Tiger Driver 91, dropping Omega on his head, which led to a lot of discourse over the past week about the spot. Omega spoke to Uprocks, where he discussed the spot and the backlash it received. Omega said that he did the spot in order to take fans on an emotional roller coaster. He said, quote, "That's what I do. There were a number of things that were designed to elicit a response from the people, whether it be a positive or a negative, but I wanted to take people on an emotional roller coaster. Hopefully, Elite fans questioning, is he okay? It's all about the match. We're battling in that ring, and I want you to go along with the ride with us. If they thought everything else in the match was just the worst shit they've ever seen in their life, but one moment got them for a second, he's not going to kick out, he's not going to get up, they better carry the gurney, call the effing airlift, that's perfect. And if I had a whole match of those type of reactions, even better. It's all part of my job. It's all part of my profession. These are things that I take a lot of pride in, and I think that's why when I went into the match there was a lot of physical and mental preparation that goes into it, because I was really preparing myself on how to wow the crowd at this kind of level." Omega continued on discussing the reaction to the spot from the people online, believing that the criticisms don't come from people with his best interest at heart. He said, quote, "People that want to shit on something, or people that want to frown upon something, or for people that want to say, well, if it were me, I wouldn't have done that. I didn't get to where I was by being able to do things that everyone else could do. I realized and recognized that I do have special talents that maybe not everyone else can do. Without revealing too much, I think a lot about my health. I think a lot about life after wrestling. I think a lot about my current life. I think a lot about next week's Dynamite and the week after that. I would never do something I didn't trust myself in performing 100%. So what are your thoughts on the Tiger Driver 91? Is it the fact that we're still talking about it weeks later, proof that it was a good idea, or was it too risky for you? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. But there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.